So, UFC star Michael Chandler is back in the news again, claiming my wife has wanted to adopt an African American boy. White UFC fighter explains why he was hesitant about adopting two black children. After experiencing backlash from his comments on parenting black children, UFC fighter Michael Chandler, who is white, is addressing why his wife, Bree, decided to adopt two African American boys. On April 27, Chandler appeared on the Sean Ryan Show, where he discussed his thoughts on identity politics and chooses to raise his two adopted sons, Hap and Ace. Whether you are black or white, no matter what your race you are, there are certain things about being a human and being a good man when it comes to character and integrity, and safeguarding the helpless and sticking up for those who need it, Chandler said, adding that being a good man of reputation, none of that has to do with skin color. Everything has to do with character of that man. Probably not an answer that some people would say is important, but that's where the world has gone. While many believe the 38-year-old heartwarming comments was in the right place, critics also felt parenting techniques would ultimately do his black children harm and a disservice. On June 7th, Chandler appeared as a guest on the Pivot podcast, where he addresses the criticism and added some context to past statements about not raising black children. I think it's a soundbite, obviously, can be clipped. That little 5 seconds can be clipped, and of course, I would say, wait a second. But if you dive deep into it, right, it was all about children's skin color and not the most important thing about them. Chandler told the co-host on ESPN star Ryan Clark, and maybe I am wrong for saying that. Maybe other people would disagree with me. The most important thing about a man being a man is the virtues and the characteristics. On X, Clark summarized the conversation saying, as a black man, I agree with him that skin color isn't the important thing about his babies. Still, many in this country see color. They see it first, and sometimes only. Michael and Bree exude love, but their children need to be prepared for the hate their skin can elicit. I love that they don't parent with fear, but as they grow, awareness of racism and racial biases could save their lives. Further the conversation, the Pivot co-host Channing Chowder asked Chandler to share some background of the adoption process and what led to him and his wife choosing to adopt black children instead of white children. According to Chandler and his wife, the initial reasons they started exploring adoption. My wife has wanted to adopt African American boys since she was a teenager, Chandler said. I remember she was doing inner city mission work. She used to go to Jamaica on mission trips and with her dad. Everybody knew she was going to do it eventually someday, and she always said, if I marry a good man, I want to do this. It was something that was kind of foreign to me, Chandler said, when he first learned his wife wanted to adopt black children. I never really thought about it. I always thought I was just going to have babies that kind of looked like me. They were white kids with brown eyes, blue eyes, whatever. The couple welcomed their first adopted son, Hap, in 2017. Let me be succinct. You are going to be of African descent or black or African American regardless of where you are. There's narratives associated with being black. There's pros and there's cons. And the cons are associated with systemic racism, a lack of access to opportunities, negative perceptions upon your character, that have all been generated by society and encounter to societal norms that's creating a boogeyman of creating somebody who is other and less than. And predominantly for the longest time, people of African descent have suffered because of these systemic ideas and notions being perpetuated about our characters, whether it be from Jim Crow, the Reconstruction period. All of these laws have systemically targeted people of African descent and marginalized our community and the people who look like me and like Hap, who is the son, and Ace, who is the son. And for us to act like those things are going to be gone and that the bubble that we create in our household can shield us from that is not true. Realistically, once you leave your house, you are going to have to deal with the fact of how other people perceive you. And whether you like to focus and block it out, it will enter into your space. It will enter into your space. And to not prepare your children with the awareness of that is doing them a disservice. I think the awareness that he's saying that these children are young and so I'm not going to have that conversation with them. Well, we know psychologists, there's been so many studies that have shown that the first 7 years of a child's life is crucial to how they are going to therefore pattern the realities moving forward in life. And so, as much as people say those 7 years or those, they're young, it really doesn't matter until they're older. It does matter. I think that there are ways in which you can parent your child and steward your children from inception to support them within being confident within who they are and what they are, and empower them so that when they do leave your house, wherever they go, they have a strong sense of understanding of who they are. To deflect and to choose to not have that conversation because it makes you uncomfortable, or because you're choosing to think that that's not something that they need to focus on, that's a privilege that you have to think that that's not a thing that people don't need to look at. Oh, I don't need to worry about that until then. That's not the case or the experience. If we talk about the microaggressions that happen for children, even at young ages in kindergarten, okay, we're talking about 5, 4, 6 in classrooms where children can see the way that teachers treat darker skinned children over light skinned children. It's apparent. People are encouraged, and racist notions and ideas are instilled within people at such an early age, just unconsciously and passively, just through the way the tonality and the way somebody addresses one child versus they address another. And these things at those particular times may not be expressed or articulated as children, but those things are there. They are pervasive. And so to not ensure that you are empowering your child with an awareness that that who they are, as they are, within the body they are, that they're beautiful, powerful, strong, and that deserve to take up space, and articulating that conversation to them of understanding that their essence and their being is a gift, and that there are others who basically do not appreciate that gift, but nonetheless it's not their responsibility to react to those who don't appreciate it, but to align themselves with those that do, and to understand that in this world there are many types of experiences, and that even that those who don't appreciate them have the right to that experience. They just need to know that that's another perspective on what's of realities, as there are perspectives where people love and appreciate and see you as who you are. And the goal of what you need to do in your life is to focus on the spaces that honor you and support you and that make you feel good. And it is not your responsibility to pander to those who may be trying to get your attention because they're being negative towards you or they're trying to condemn you. These are the type of conversations that need to be had at an early age. And I think from the exception, this whole entire waiting and it's you're doing your child a disservice. It still reiterates the same conversation that other people were saying, that he's basically, or they're basically, falsely equipping their children to have situations that aren't going to be beneficial for them in the long run. What I also found really uncomfortable or cringy is the fact that his wife wanted to adopt black boys since she was a teenager, and the reasoning that she did inner city work, and and that she went to Jamaica, or let's say impoverished communities where black boys and girls are suffering, and so she wanted to make that particular her goal to basically support those children. I believe that definitely it just sounds very fetishizing to me, in a way, and that's my own perspective. I'm not undermining her choice. I think that it's lovely that you are being willing to host your space to support people who are struggling, children who are struggling. Um, but I just find it particularly the black boys. It seems very fetishizing to me. Like there's a lot of other children or people that can be supported, and the idea that you could, and it's interesting to me. It's like, what idea, what makes you equipped to support these black boys? What value do you think, as a white woman, that you can support these black children with in rearing and supporting them in a way that would allow them to have the best life? Um, that's a question that I would like to ask within understanding the issues that we talked about, systemic racism, um, the marginalization of people of African descent, the negative stereotypes on black boys and black bodies. Um, how is your whiteness going to protect them from that? Because at the end of the day, you may be their mother, are you their guardian, but when they're not around you, that adjacency to you or the privileges, the access to you is not going to be there. It's not. There's still going to be black children or black bodies moving in space. And there's a different way in which black bodies are perceived in space, regardless of their association to you. So I just really would like to look at that and unpack that if she would be willing to. I don't know if she is going to care to, because again, she's now the mother of these children and she's chosen to honor them and to raise them, and to support them in the way that she believes that each children needs to be supported, same way as Hap is talking about, by instilling values and character into these children. But you can have good value, good character, and be instilled upon and have those qualities, and people in your society and community can still treat you like ish and still be disrespectful to you and still marginalize you and test you. And that is a lot of the experience that a lot of black men have, or people of African descent have. They're if it's not for their character or their internal moral compass or ethics within navigating space, a lot of people would blow up and be hostile and reactive based upon the pressures that are being projected upon them. And that is the experience of the harm that comes within being black in that space, because often it's like you're going to be seeking support or refuge from the same people that are causing you harm. And I see the benefit of that in the sense of realizing that there are people who are light skinned that are kind, or white that are kind, there are white people that aren't kind, and that you can receive. And phenotype doesn't really relate to somebody's quality of being considerate or compassionate or caring or loving. But I think that it's also, there's a different level of nurturing that comes from being around other people that look like you and other people that share your intimate experiences. And I think that I would hope, again, I think I have not touched upon this, but I would hope that they would also create a space outside of their bubble with people who they're going to bring in to help support them in raising these children that share their same cultural experience, that could also support them within rearing these children. I think it's a disservice if they're going to be the whole entire isolating situation where the only black people that are in around their interaction are themselves and they're surrounded by a white family. I think it's important for there to be auxiliary friends or family or people that look like them in their space. And I was wondering if they didn't talk on that, they didn't touch on that, because I think that would be the way in which to safely or create a more cultural supportive environment for these children. Because otherwise it's looking like it's going to lead down a road that could be very unfortunate for them eventually. And the good intentions, as much as they are, still can lead to negative consequences and or to negative experiences. And I think that they're going to learn that through this experience with these boys, and hopefully the consequences of the situation isn't as damaging to the boys as it could potentially be, and hopefully they're willing to adjust and to pivot to support their children. But hopefully they listen to the backlash as not just being backlash, but just another perspective on how they could potentially rear these children in a way that could be supportive in honoring them, their culture, and who they are, and the blackness that they that and the beauty that it is to be black, and the joy that it is to be black, and the expansion that it is to be black. And I think that that's also what is missing from the conversation when she's talking about she adopted these children and wanted to adopt them since she was a teen. She maybe has saw the experience of Black people as being struggle, as being harm, as being downtrodden, and she wants to therefore support these children by elevating them and bringing them into an experience of joy, not realizing that there is joy within Black experiences. There's is excitement, there's a love within those spaces. And so I think that could also be the rationale between why she wanted to save these children in the way that she wanted to adopt specifically these Black children by offering them something that would potentially be better than what they typically would go into. But the typical environments that she's went to is not the totality of what the Black experience is. And I think that that's something I would hope that everyone moving forward would take into consideration, that the Black experience is very diverse, it's very expansive, and it's very nuanced, and it's very beautiful, and that there's more than trauma and pain. There's more than anguish and backlash and struggle. There's beauty, there's joy, there's happiness, there's abundance, there's love, there's history, there's lineage, there's magic, there's expansiveness, there's creativity, you know. And I would hope that that aspect of the Black experience would not be sacrificed or undermined because the children are in the particular space that they're in with the people that they're in the space with, and that hopefully the perspective of their white parents is more so in looking at the full experience of Blackness. That's all I got to say.